Biddy is a rescue. I got her when she was about a year old in Hartford, Connecticut. She'd been roaming the streets, and I got her at a no-kill shelter and took her home. I've had her in training 3 or 4 times, and nothing has worked. She gets very aggressive around other dogs and people. Not being able to talk to my friends and having to hide behind trees, having to go way out of my way because I don't want a confrontation.
So right now she's not listening. She's like going to and but even with the pressure, she's not really responding too well. So I'm gonna hey. So with the hands going like this, it's going to be a little easier for her to understand that we're talking to her. Because you can tell with the leash pressure, she was just ignoring that. So the first thing that I was explaining to the owner here is that we need to be correcting the behavior. We need to be interrupting this behavior every single time. Although there's a few different ways to do it, I was showing her the most effective methods to get the dog to stop. I explained to her that with the leash and the collar she had on, and we were applying pressure, that still wasn't enough to get the dog's attention. So I was teaching her some hand pressure that will be very effective in communicating with the dog as a correction to let them know they must immediately stop that behavior. Once the dog was responding to the correction, I was using the same correction to stop the dog's behavior in different scenarios, and I was just adding common things that are a trigger for her. So for example, you see me stand up and then go back down because those are triggers for her currently. When she sees someone stand up, she usually barks at them aggressively, as you just saw. But now she was learning to tolerate and not see someone simply stand up as a trigger. I was also using the leash to continue to communicate with her and reinforce that I am in charge of the situation. She's no longer allowed to be barking at all these dogs and people, but I'm also creating a positive environment for her around this dog and people walking by for her to realize she does not need to worry about them. Move her around a little bit. We did. After practicing for a little bit, it was time to put the training through the test, and we're taking this 9-year-old dog, as you heard the owner say, that could not be trained, into the dog. She's letting us know that she's actually pretty comfortable with other dogs as long as she feels like we are in charge of it, so she doesn't have to worry about them. Good girl. Let's go. Good. So this is also really good because you want dogs like moving around faster, going by her. We did with dogs just walking by. She warmed up. She was doing pretty good. Right. Now we want to make sure that we get her to also relax with like fast movement. Right. Because the more she can tolerate, the better it is. Like you can go anywhere with her, and if a dog barks at her, even she doesn't care. You know, that's kind of like taking it to the next level.
Okay. Billy, you come here, Daisy. Come on, let's go. Daisy.
She's pretty confident though to explore.
Yeah, I should take her to dog parks.
Not necessarily, but
yeah, no.
Sometimes, you know, she's small and you never know what other dogs will be there.
Right.
But you can at least take her to like places with maybe some friends' dogs, you know. That's it. You just redirect her a little bit. She's not used to having dogs sniffing her. Okay. So that's why I want to bring her here to help you desensitize her. Yeah. Because even if you don't ever take her to a park, like just exposure will make her more desensitized to dogs. Okay. So she's gonna feel less of the need of being defensive. Right. So like I said, she got comfortable with them walking by really quickly. But now I want to make sure that they can sniff her, they can run around her. Dogs barking, they won't be a trigger for her anymore. Okay. So like when they bark and run around, since she's not used to it, for her, she sees that as a threat. Okay. So we just want her to get a little bit of exposure. If she's feeling threatened, she's gonna look right at the dog and she won't be able to look away. Okay. You know, the same thing that I told you outside. She's gonna start to look at the dog like she's concerned about it. Right. You know. So if she can look and look away, that's her letting us know she doesn't care about it. That's really good. Okay. Good. Right, this is pretty good. So now she's learning to let them sniff her and be able to continue to walk. So that's what we're trying to do, is get her to be less afraid. So you want to keep her moving around.
Okay.
And you gotta evaluate the situation whenever you know.
Right.
Usually I would never recommend you bring her to a place like this because
Right.
you just never know. Let's go. So watch how it's much easier if I'm keeping her moving. You see that?
Yeah.
Psst, let's go. So everyone should try to like pay attention to that dog. I'm just keeping her moving, and you're giving her a way out calmly, so she feels like she doesn't have to be so defensive if a dog approaches her.
Right. Okay.
After she has a few exposures like that, it becomes easier, then you can relax a little bit more. Right now it's really important that you keep managing her because she's 9 years old and she's never had this exposure before.
Right.
So if you stop, she doesn't know what to do on her own, and she naturally becomes defensive, which is why she's reactive.
Right. It's a matter of getting her attention before the actual event happens so that I can turn her around and lead her away from it if she starts to get excited.